if you're hungry. Can't see it.
Customer information. Please take care of your useful
The Spencers don't live here though, they rent it out. Since the 1920s they've been leasing it out to different companies. And there's an investment firm who have been here since the 1980s called Ritz Capital Partners, who are owned by the Rothschild dynasty. So yeah, his name's Keith Kieran. So yeah, if you do want a closer... So like I said, there are only 5 of them who do this, but only 3 of them are out and about. The other 2 are in the workshop. One of the 3. And this gentleman is called Aaron. Ready for the winner? Yeah. Yeah, darker. Actually, a question after that, Aaron, is what is the gas? What is the type of gas?
Natural gas is called.
Right.
Yes, that's the same gas that you cook with at home, or the same as runs your boiler.
Yeah.
So straight off the mains, these are on the mains.
Right, yeah.
So.
Oh, cool, great.
Alright then.
Yeah.
Take care.
So there you go, guys. Yeah, in action. Oh, find the horse. Which was Dirty Bertie, because apparently he spent lots of time in Parisian brothels. People often call the Victoria Memorial the birthday cake as well because of the shape there. It's the largest statue of any king or queen in the country. This one of Victoria facing towards us. She married for love, so she went against her father's wishes, chose a German prince called Albert. Albert was her first cousin, however, and this is quite normal in the royal family to do that. I'll give everyone 5 minutes to have a wander around, take a closer look at the soldiers and the palace, and then meet me back here in 5 minutes and I'll give you the history of Buckingham Palace.
They then brought it to the nation that they were going to do this to the main colour of London by saying, no, lay down
Just try to go to the gate.
I know, right? Take a picture. ¿Dónde quieres ir allá?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ay. No puede ser. No se puede sacar. No, no se puede. No, no, no.
Swimming around in the lake, and they were a gift from a Russian ambassador to King Charles II centuries ago. They think about 40 great white pelicans have lived in the park over the centuries, and there was a tradition of Russian ambassadors gifting us pelicans, which doesn't happen anymore because we're not best buddies with Russia at the moment, unfortunately. So maybe that will repair in the future. But the 6 great white pelicans who live
They're so cute.
This park is pretty amazing in spring, so around April. All these geese, the ducks, the swans, they all have their babies at that time. So it's full of baby birds. Oh, here we go, a white and a black swan here. And then night time we get foxes coming out, and the foxes have a bit of a banquet on all these baby birds. Some of them make it to adult. So they're under the protection of the royal family, the white swans, because there used to be food at banquets, and so they were given royal protection. The white ones, and then the black ones are just for show. There's 2 of the black ones from Australia. Swimming. Yeah.
Size of those swans, Chris.
Buckingham Palace before Queen Victoria moved everyone. Really, it's a building used for ceremony and administration around the royal family today. They will declare each new king or queen from this courtyard. As well. So 2 years ago, the Prime Minister with lots of senior politicians gathered here. British actors playing British monarchs and winning Oscars for these movies. Those of you who've seen the movie, you know he has a stammer, had a stammer. That's what the film's about, how he overcame that. And he was not supposed to be the king as well. So 90 years ago, his older brother became king first. His older brother was called King Edward VIII. But Edward VIII is famous for abdicating the throne. Before his coronation day, he stepped down as king and he gave the crown to the younger brother George because he wanted to marry an American lady called Wallis Simpson. And the issue with marrying Wallis Simpson was that she had been married twice before. So as head of the Church of England, Bishop said you cannot marry a divorcee. Now, this is 90 years ago, we sort of moved on from that. Yes, yeah, you can see the 2 horses here. So they get at least a 4-hour break. But they have to remain on the ground for 2 weeks. But the rest it would be like being in the barracks. Same, so they just do 2 hours. And only 2 of them. There's about 30. Actually, it's not that many. They might have to do it once. We love entrepreneurs. Yeah. No, definitely not. You know, in the heat, it's really, really hot. If it's too hot, they just take it. Yeah, the horse is well fed. So military headquarters, which is basically like our Pentagon. And then over here where these black gates are is Downing Street, where the Prime Minister... The building we're all looking at and taking photos of, the building's not called Big Ben, so it's called the Elizabeth Tower. And it was named in 2012 for Queen Elizabeth II's Diamond Jubilee, her 60th anniversary on the throne. Yes. You could rent a pineapple for the evening, and it was this massive trade was hiring pineapples to people. You weren't allowed to eat them, and then you had to give them back and they'd rent them out to someone else. So yeah, it's golden pineapples on St Paul's Cathedral.
It won't.
Let's go to the list. We have to go to CK.
That bridge is Blackfriars Station, where we just left from. And that bridge is the largest solar panel bridge in the world. It generates about half the electricity for the bridge, but you might recognise it from Mission Impossible, because Tom Cruise was running across those solar panels in Mission Impossible 6, Rogue Nation. There. The tall building on that side is the Shard as well, which is the tallest building in Western Europe. And it's designed to look like a shard of broken glass. So that opened in 2013. It has 72 floors. It is 310 metres high. Most of it is office space. There's a restaurant halfway up, which you can see, and the top few floors are fancy apartments as well. And now we've got 35 bridges that cross the river. We get a much better view of Tower Bridge when we get down there, so I'll talk about that later. But 35 bridges that cross the river today. The one we're on is the most recent bridge. This one is called Millennium Bridge, but it's got an embarrassing story attached to it, because when they opened in recent years, they have uncovered bear skeletons in the foundations of buildings and bear skulls. We also had to practice bull baiting, which was exactly the same, but you use a bull instead of a bear, so very, very cruel. But this is how people got their kicks back in the medieval times. So the phrase being thrown in the cliff, this is where it comes from. And this used to be the cellar of a palace. There was a palace in the area called the Palace of Winchester 900 years ago, and the bishops of Winchester who lived in the palace would throw heretics down the cellar. This skeleton in the cage on the corner is a practice called gibbeting, which is where you would display the bodies of notorious criminals as a deterrent. And believe it or not, we only stopped gibbeting in the 1820s under the reign of George IV, so not that long ago really. Now, if you were really 18th century, which is long after the City of London was established, so everything is a lane, a way, a passage, a port, a side, something like that. Big difference you'll notice is there's only one bridge, which is London Bridge. The cellar, this is what's left of the palace. So this was once the Great Hall for the palace. And the bishops would control the area. So the main thing of business in the area was prostitution and sex workers had to give some of their earnings to bishops in the area. And this meant that all of these sex workers were known as Winchester geese, after the Bishop of Winchester in Winchester Palace. People said if you got goosebumps, that is a sign you have been bitten by a Winchester goose, meaning you had contracted a venereal disease from the area. So yeah, just be careful if you tell anyone you've got goosebumps, in case they think you mean something else. The Harvard Chapel in here, named after him as well, because he was born nearby. Now to my left is Borough Market. So the market, Borough Market has existed at the foot of London Bridge, not necessarily right here on this site, but there has been a market known as Borough Market for at least 800 years, nearly 1,000 years. And it came about because when people travelled to London, they stopped at the city gates. The passengers got off, went into the city, and all the coachmen would be waiting at the city gates at the foot of London Bridge. So traders came down to service these coachmen. Now for Harry Potter fans, under this railway arch, if you go to the next street, onto the next railway arch, you will find a taco restaurant called Tacos El Pastor. And that is where in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban 50 years is now in Arizona. So in the 1960s it was going to be replaced, so a guy called Robert Paxman McCulloch, who makes McCulloch chainsaws in the United States. He bought London Bridge for several million, had it shipped over to Havasu City, where it sits on Havasu Lake. And apparently it is the second most visited tourist attraction in the state of Arizona after Grand Canyon. So you can see old London Bridge there. This one looks very boring and plain, which is why everybody ignores it and looks at the pretty one over there. London Bridge has lots of one-star reviews on Google, people complaining, saying, why is this famous? But like I say, it was the only bridge, that's why, until 300 years ago. That one over there is called Tower Bridge. It's always been called Tower Bridge, and it was built in 1894. The reason it's called Tower Bridge is because it's next to the Tower of London, which is that castle on the left. So the Tower of London was...
This is what we did right after, but before we got to this location, I was so scared because I thought I lost my camera, because I thought I was getting pickpocketed. And thankfully, I don't know if I actually was, because my camera was like almost falling out, and I was like, oh shit, like I lost my camera, and then like it somehow like it fell, like it's so hard for me to explain. So we took these pictures, and then we went back to the train station to go back to France, and that's pretty much our day in London.